Do you remember Trade Chat? Do you remember Panda Trade Chat? She was like, she is still a big name in like the WoW community, but she used to be a really, really big name in like the WoW YouTube and Twitch community. She's one of the OG WoW streamers, right? And she basically got harassed out of the community by a bunch of classic bros. Really, really fucking horrible. So now she does Facebook gaming, doesn't she? I think living her best life. She's having a good time anyway, and likes life a lot in the war. And I think that's brilliant. And but I remember we like emailed her and we were like, "Yo, your camera looks awesome. What a camera is it? And what are the settings that you use?" And she told us her camera, and then she literally sent us like 20 screenshots of every single one of her camera settings, and that was awesome. That was so cool. Panzer doesn't deserve even a quarter of the hate that she got. No, well, to be honest, here's the thing: she didn't even say anything bad about Classic, and even if she had, no one deserves any hate or shit for saying. I should be able to say Classic sucks without getting any hate at all, because it's a fucking video game. Who cares? I don't think Classic sucks. Please don't fucking harass me. But she didn't even say that. The Classic community, like, they were on edge at that time, you know? I remember I got a load of shit on one of my own streams when I was playing Classic Beta, right? For saying that, you know, the skill ceiling in Classic was lower than in retail. Something that everyone, like I said that I thought Molten Core would go down in 12 days after release. I said, I think Molten Core will go down maximum 12 days after the release of Classic. And people were fucking screaming at me. Like, my own chat were calling me a fucking idiot and telling me to kill myself. Like, there must be people in this chat now who were in that chat then who remember that. Please back me up here. There were like hundreds of people in my chat who were like, "You fucking idiot. This just proves what a fucking stupid shill you are. You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, man. You fucking idiot." And like, I was wrong. It went down much, much quicker than that. But they thought I was shitting on Classic by saying it was easy, because I was saying it was going to go down in 10 days. But it's not. I knew exactly what I was fucking talking about. I knew exactly what I was talking about. I was right. It did go down a lot quicker than that. All those people thought. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I said that as well. I said it won't be cleared by 40 people. It will be less than 40 people that clear it. And people were trying to crucify me, like genuinely. Like I said it will go down in 12 days. And it won't be a full 40 that do it, or they won't all be max level. I've seen the fucking private server community. I know what goes on in the private server community because I'm interested in this game and I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. And people were taking that objective statement of fact to be me shitting on Classic somehow. People were very, very snowflakey about Classic back in those days. Like, there was no bigger snowflake on earth than your Classic bro at that time, to be honest. All you had to do was say that, like, Classic's difficulty was based on kind of effort rather than skill, another objectively true thing, and people would get so upset with you. People would be so angry. It was wild. And I was right. I never got any fucking apologies from people, but I'm used to that. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but it was wild. People were like really, and if I have no doubt, I have zero doubt that if it had been Evitel saying that stuff, she would have got properly harassed. I have no doubt that if that had been Evitel streaming and saying that objectively correct stuff that was proven to be true, then she would have got harassed off the internet as well. You know, only the fact that I was a man was protecting me from even more hatred and harassment. Yeah, because they would blame the fact that she's such an idiot that didn't know anything, even though she was right, with her being a girl, right? Of course. There was a lot of tension back for some fucking reason. I don't know why. Everyone was really hyped about Classic, but there were some people that were just so defensive about it. So defensive. We talked about it a lot at the time, this idea that, you know, the modern gamer mindset incorrectly associates difficulty with quality. You know, good video games, proper video games are difficult. You know, Cuphead, there was the Cuphead controversy just before that. There's always the Dark Souls, like, difficulty controversy and stuff like that. And this idea that, you know, easy games aren't real games. And that's an incorrect assumption, but it's something that a lot of gamers have in their minds. So if you dare suggest that Classic has a lower skill ceiling than Retail, something which I think is objectively true. Like, that's not to say that Retail isn't, Classic isn't as hard or harder than Retail. It's just the difficulty is a different kind of difficulty. In Classic, the difficulty is time spent and effort kind of engaged, whereas it's more kind of like Twitch skills these days. Like, there's not a single raid in Classic WoW which is as difficult as Mythic Ashara, right? Like, simple as that. But it might take longer to get your character ready for raid in Classic, and that's the whole thing. But if in your head you are saying someone is saying that Classic is easier than Retail in any way, with that fucked up gainer mentality, what you're saying is it's worse. Because in your head, you associate, like, if you're saying a game is easy, you're saying it's bad, which is the wrong thing to think anyway. It's like just a whole lot of misconceptions and bad beliefs coming together there, right? Classic's difficulty comes with time spent min-maxing and optimizing. I completely agree. And that's what I mean. So, like, it doesn't take as much skill, frankly. And that's always been like the appeal of MMOs, this idea that, the world... I've always said this was one of the main appeals about MMOs in general, but WoW in particular. And this is why people didn't like randomized rewards in, like, BFA, was because one of the appeals is the world is unfair. We are told that if you work hard, you can get everything you want in real life. Now, the barest amount of critical thinking will tell you that that's not actually true. The barest amount of kind of observing the world will tell you that that's not true. But MMOs, particularly like older MMOs, particularly WoW when it came out, your success actually was dependent on the time and the effort you put in, not even necessarily your skill. It was literally like, if you give this game the time and effort, you will get all of the things that you want from it. And that is so opposite to real life that it's incredibly appealing, It's nice to be on a track. It's nice to think to yourself, if I do these things, I will get this thing. And the only thing standing in the way is the time and the effort that I put in, which is the kind of like how we're told real life works, but is in actual reality kind of the opposite of how life works. And to be perfectly honest, WoW is kind of, with Dragonflight, in many important ways, it has kind of reverted back to that a little bit. Now you would say you've got kind of both of those elements in it. You've still got like the skill-based element of Mythic Plus and high-end raiding, right? But there's a lot more things with the renown and with like the secondary reputation grinds and things like that. There's a lot more things that you could say do have that, you put the effort in, you'll get it, element to it, which is really good. What about raids in vanilla? I mean, what I mean is, if you want to compare like for like, raids in vanilla just don't require as much skill as raids in, like, game playing skill. As raids in... again, the difficulty in raids in vanilla generally comes from the things that just take time and effort rather than the skill. So, like, the reason Mythic Ashara is hard is because you need to be a really fucking good player. The reason Molten Core is hard is because you needed to level a character, which took a fuck of a long time. You needed to attune, which took a fuck of a long time. You needed the fire resist gear back in the day. No one knew that you didn't really need it, which took a fuck of a long time. So that, like with all of Classic, that's where the difficulty comes from, is, the prep time, essentially. Whereas the difficulty in retail, in raiding at least, comes from the actual gameplay, right? Which is, good or bad, depending on your point of view. More people to manage, which can be as difficult in a different way. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Organizing 40 pizza raid was like herding cats. Exactly, which is why the bosses had to be piss easy. Was because, we weren't as conditioned into raid mechanics back then, and yeah, not just organizing 40 people, but organizing 40 people 20 years ago, where people had incredibly varying levels of internet connection and comms and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, naturally, the boss fights are much, much simpler. I remember raiding Rag in vanilla, and the hunters had their own guild channel, which we would just chat while the auto shots would ping against him. Yeah, seriously. So there's that. And I'm not saying either is better or worse. I'm not even saying one is harder and one is easier. I'm just saying they're different forms of difficulty, right? But that's not what people heard back then. They heard me saying something that turned out to be incredibly true, and that's something that isn't even controversial, wasn't controversial a week afterwards, right? But it was definitely controversial to say it before WoW came out. Before Classic came out, it was incredibly controversial to say that. You know, please, guys, back me up if you're in this chat. It's hard to exaggerate how fucking aggressive people were being in my chat. I'm not exaggerating at all when I say people were being like literally just telling me to go fuck myself, and I didn't understand a fucking word I was saying. It was wild for saying something that turned out to be like actually proved to be like an underestimate of how quickly it was going to go down. It was wild. I couldn't believe what I was fucking seeing in my own chat. It was crazy. And you are stronger now. Well, I was right. But none of those people are going to remember that I was right. They still think I don't know what I'm talking about, because that's when they decided. Like, they saw me say something. This is how the internet works, right? So a bunch of people in my chat that day that saw me say something that they disagreed with and that made them feel bad. So in their heads, I'm a guy that talks about shit that he has no fucking idea about. They completely forget that I was actually proved right, you know? Their opinion of me was formed that day, and for them, I will always be someone that talks about stuff they don't fucking understand. You know, they ignore the bit where I turned out to be completely right. You know, but they, you know, that day they saw me say something that upset them, they didn't like, and they're like, oh, that guy talks fucking shit. Doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, fucking idiot. And then it doesn't matter that I turned out to be right. Like, that's what their opinion is. I imagine you saying this take and then think of them acting like that pyromancer rage. I mean, they literally did, though. They literally did, yeah. That or they're just more bitter because you were right and they don't like being wrong. Yeah, especially because they know I'm going to fucking remind them at every opportunity. Maybe that's my fault. But they were horrible to me. They were really horrible to me, my own chat. And I was just trying to enjoy Mulgore, man. I was just trying to do some fun alpha leveling in Mulgore, enjoying the music, you know, and saying something obviously true, and I wasn't allowed to, man. Molten Core went down before the first reset in the end. So I said 12 days because I thought, you know, halfway through after the first reset. So it was a conservative estimate. It turned out in the end, and so yeah. But people were like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Tali. The fire resist gear. You think people are going to be able to get all their fire resist gear in 1 week and level? You fucking idiot. You fucking R-word. You, like, go kill yourself. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is why you deserve to be harassed, man.